All right, greetings everyone. Happy Wednesday. Good morning. Apollonia Barriga. Oh, Apollonia. That reminds me of my early Prince days. Apollonia, Vanity 6 in the group. All right, so let's get Adina on. Good morning, you all. Thank you. All right. Hi, Adina.
Hey,
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am present. I am present. We are in our Mercury Day. I'm grateful that you're here to join me. And so today is a Mercury Day, as you know, and Mercury is retrograde, you all. And one of the things that's been interesting, like my body has been kind of swollen, like I've been puffy. It's such an interesting thing. I'm like, oh, and it's Mercury retrograde.
Hmm.
But Mercury rules our mind and how we think. And when Mercury is in retrograde, it gives us the opportunity, depending on where it is retrograde, to do a review.
Mm-hmm.
And it's retrograding in Gemini. And Gemini is about our perception and how we perceive reality. It really is the story we tell ourselves about life, about experiences, right? So the story, like I could be looking at you and I could say, I see a brown skin black woman, or brown skinned woman who's black, who's beautiful, and then somebody else can look at you and tell a very different story based upon the same experience, right? That's
I like your story. That's why we friends.
yes, absolutely. So this energy, so Mercury retrograde is the opportunity for us to notice the stories we're telling about things,
Mm-hmm.
right? And there's so many stories in the news and everything right now. So it's like whatever we believe, whatever we are telling ourselves is what we actually then experience, right? So for
Right.
instance, this breast milk story.
Oh God. Okay. Okay.
It's tricky, right?
It's very tricky. It's very tricky.
So one of the things, it's like, what is your perception of anything, right? So it's like giving yourself. So for me, for instance, with the breastfeeding, so like I was like, oh, that's so interesting that they're saying that there's not enough breast milk when
They're
women.
not saying breast milk because breast milk is plentiful. It's formula. It's not enough chemicals.
That's
Because
right.
there are titties everywhere. I told you I could put these titties in service. Just holler at me. Y'all need some milk.
You can.
Not to belittle anybody's experience, but just know that God gave us everything, everything, everything we need to take care of our babies.
Everything we need. So it's it's the story we tell ourselves about things. And so as we hear, like I hear women saying, what about women who can't breastfeed? I'm like, well, this is not for you then. If you believe you can't, if you perceive that you can't breastfeed, then you are not, this is not for you. You're not functioning
But what
as.
does my aunt say? There's another way.
That's right.
There's a sister who can breastfeed. There are grandmothers who can relactate. There are aunties who can breastfeed. There are breast milk banks. There are ways to handle this, but we got to think outside of just our own personal resources. Everything's available to us.
That's
You
right.
know, why having a cow breastfeed a human baby? None of that ever made sense to me. You
Right.
know, the cows aren't going, oh my God, I'm out of human formula. Like, what? They feed their babies.
Right.
This makes no sense.
Right. It makes no sense. And so this is all a very Mercury retrograde kind of conversation, because Mercury
Okay.
is the trickster, right? And
Okay.
so it will trick you into thinking one thing, like they trick you into believing that your body can't produce milk, so your body won't produce milk because you've
Yeah.
been tricked into believing it. And you've been tricked
Yeah.
into believing that the only resource is the one that's on the shelf at the grocery store. Even, and here's the other thing. And so not only can you, like, I remember when I had a friend who he had adopted a child. He had adopted a man. I had a male friend who adopted a little boy out of the foster care system. And he was like, what do I do about breast milk? And I found a girlfriend who had a baby. Her baby was at the NICU. So she was producing so much milk that she
Mhm.
just gave some to him.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So,
Ta-da!
yeah, my little self, when they said it was a formula shortage, I was like, yay, shut them down, shut them down.
Right.
Maybe folks will look to their own chest and go ahead and use what they have that's available and help their brothers and sisters in need, you know?
That's right.
That's what
That's right. And
I
if you want, you can make healthy formula. Like there are ways that you can make your own formula at home that's healthy. Feel like I had a girlfriend that did that. And she used to
mm-hmm.
put dates in her baby's milk. I was like, ooh, that milk good.
Yeah,
That's some good
good
milk, right?
milk.
And so it's this is the Mercury retrograde energy. It's what story are you telling? And what we're really beginning to witness is, you know, what is the truth? What really is the
Yeah,
truth? So you have to do the
yeah,
work. You have to want to know the truth. And the truth
yes,
costs. The truth costs sacrificing the lies. The truth
yeah,
means that you have to let go of the bullshit that you have to question and ask. And that's just what time we're living in right now. It's hard to believe anything. So you have to know what you can trust.
yeah. Stop arguing for the limitation as well, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Stop being so attached to the story where you lose and trying to argue for why it was that way and hold in your hand that it could actually be a different way. You know, that's how we used to think. We're using this time to write a new story where we win. We can do that.
That's right. Yes. And it's vitally important to surround yourself with people who understand. If you don't
Ashe.
have friends that understand, go listen to videos and people like myself and Adina and there are others. I'm not the only. There are others of us who are really talking about the truth right now. And and sit yourself in that energy and be devoted to knowing the truth, because there's so many untruths that are going around, lies and deceptive frequencies that are available. So you have to do the work to align
Yeah,
yourself with truth.
yeah.
Mhm.
And trust, we can do it. I know that we can do this. We're alive at this time because we are the ones to do this.
Yes.
So, yes, let's
Talk
do
to
it.
me a little bit about the book that you were telling me you were reading.
Oh my gosh. So I'm reading this amazing, interesting, mind-shattering book called The Alphabet versus the Goddess. And you can get it on Audible. And this book talks about how the inception of alphabet as written language and using the specific alphabet that we use today, you can also look at that and the destruction of goddess culture. It talked about Greek mythology and patriarchy and all of these things, and then history before that. So if you think of the last 5,000 years as being ruled chiefly by patriarchal ways of seeing the world and male images of the divine, there was a time when this was not the norm. Like, this would be laughable, just like maybe goddess culture is laughable to some now. It's a very amazing book. I was sharing with Monique earlier that as a kid or as a student, I read pieces of Greek mythology, but I never did a deep dive into it. So in this book, he's breaking down a lot of the Greek mythology. And it's called mythology for a reason, but they use those stories to plant the idea of a male god or a male, they wanted to do away with mother love, which seems so ridiculous to me. Even now, in a patriarchal society, we still understand the value of mother. They were trying to do away with mother. They wanted in Plato's, what is that, Iliad? Who wrote that? Was that Plato or Socrates? One of them.
The
And they
Iliad and
called
the
it a
Odyssey.
yeah, so the one Iliad, I believe
Yeah.
it was. They talked about utopia, and I always thought of utopia as being something that was ideal. But even his utopia was fucked, for lack of a better word. Once we got into it, I'm like, this is ridiculous. That ain't utopia. That's not my utopia, where there is, the woman is still subjugated and is, basically, men were trying to do at that time historically. In Europe, they were trying to do away with the female god and trying to do away with the power of the goddess and the power of woman and the power of all of that. So the book is very, very interesting. So look, you guys read it and or listen to it, and we can hop on and have a conversation. I think that'll be a great conversation because it's so many tidbits in there to just, we could just take chapter by chapter or a couple chapters and just talk about how that resonated for you and what you got from that and how you see it reflected now, which is so powerful because it just shows you how we got to where we are right now.
Right.
And women too. Women think just because you're a woman that you're for women issues. No, you're not. Just because just like you have black people, you're like, you're black, you're for black stuff. No, they're not. Because we've all been socialized in this society that's trying to put our minds at a certain place. So it doesn't matter if you're a male or female or black or white. It matters where your heart is and what you do. You can't assume that somebody's on the same page with you because they're not.
Yeah.
You know, they haven't been brought up that way. They haven't been, they will argue for the patriarchy because that's what they believe. They will march and carry the flag and die on the sword because that's how they've been taught.
Yeah.
So to see the story kind of played out, and it's a white guy who wrote this book, and he's just telling on his culture, like, look at this. He said, they said the women were crazy when actually it was the men. It was the men who was crazy, you know?
That's right.
So it's a very interesting story. So I look forward to those who, yes, the alphabet versus a goddess. That's correct.
Yes.
Check it out. We'll put
Check
it
it out. And it's
and let's talk about it.
It's thank you so much for sharing that because it's really important for us to look at nature and see what nature the fuck is doing, right? Like it is like I remember when I had my baby and I was like, wow, I just had this baby and now I can actually feed him out of my own milk. Like I don't need to go get him anything. He doesn't need it. All these baby showers, like I loved it. It was so great for people to be so generous and give things, but there was nothing that was really needed. He came with everything he needed. And I could offer him that. And it's this idea, the way these stories, because they're just stories, the way this mythology has been passed down to us, we don't often even know how we function and what we're capable of because it's not taught. Like, and so it keeps you ignorant and believing that that's a bad thing or you don't want to do it when it actually is your goddess power. It is the power that makes you a goddess. You can take a seed into your womb and bring out a human being and then feed that baby, you know?
Everything you need.
So as we're in this Mercury retrograde window and this eclipse window, the work that's being asked of us is to understand our value. What is your value? And you have to determine, and this is the thing, if you whatever you determine is valuable is where you're putting your energy. It's where you're putting your attention. It's what you're focusing on. It's one thing to say, I value this, but then be doing something that is completely contradictory to what you say you value. The universe is listening to your actions. That's the language of the goddess. The goddess spoke in symbols. The goddess spoke in, energetic. That's what we're talking about here. Understanding the nature.
That's right. Like you said.
And so you cannot say you believe in one thing and then be completely aligned with another behavior and practice because you're sending mixed signals, and all that does is constipate your energy. It confuses your energy, and then the universe doesn't know how to support you. So I'm really grateful that we get to have these conversations. I'm grateful that we are beginning to understand, and I want to say that we needed that experience. We needed the experience. Because once you understand, when you've done something that harms you, you might have a tendency not to do it again. You get
it a different way. So that's a deeper conversation, probably beyond the scope of right here. But we talked about race and, how though the experience of the transatlantic slave trade, there are deeper reasons for all of these experiences and deeper reasons for the absence of the goddess. So now as we come back into reawakening, we can be these things, these powerful things in a more humane way, a more caring way, a more holistic way, because obviously something had to happen for it to be dashed completely from existence for 5,000 years. So we got to own it. And as we come back into that power, use it wisely, use our powers for good, So.
And it's true because it really is a power. That's the thing that's important for people to know. Like it really is a power, and they have to go through great effort to keep us out of our power.
They do.
If they have to, it's a full time, like the education system, the healthcare, all of these systems are designed.
The water, they just file everything.
So that you don't have power, so that you will live in the forgotten state, right? Too many have forgotten. That's right. And so, but the more of us that begin to wake up and share and talk and live it, right? You when you live in alignment to it, it will impact others. So thank you so much, Adina. I just adore you. I just want y'all to know we danced first because I was in a mood, and Adina she helped me shimmy it out.
Yay!
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sister.
All right, you all. Have a happy Wednesday. The moon today is in Sagittarius. It's going into Capricorn. So we are in the last days of the Taurus energy. And, you know, this is all about value, understanding your value, understanding the truth, like what's real, what's not. And you have to align yourself and ask deeper questions and really learn to trust yourself. And that's a process. So you have to commit to it, though. All right.
Yeah.
Have a beautiful
We ready.
Yes, we are. Have a beautiful day. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.